TOHO, Connected Knowledge.
Hello, I'm your host, Mario Chiesa, Executive Director of TOHO, Nova's tourism and hospitality platform. TOHO's vision is to be an international, innovative, impactful and multidisciplinary platform that is a reference for research and education in tourism and hospitality, creating value for its ecosystem by leveraging the capabilities of Nova schools. This is the TOHO podcast, where experts meet to debate how to connect knowledge at the service of tourism and hospitality. Every episode, we will discuss one topic with the presence of a market expert and academic expert. Reach us on Twitter at NovaUNL or Facebook and Instagram at Universidade Nova Lisboa, or visit our website at toho.unl.pt. Today's podcast is about digital transformation. Hello, so I'm honored to be here with Roberto Antunes and Miguel de Castroneto. Thank you very much both for your availability. Roberto is Executive Director of NEST, Tourism Innovation Center Portugal, owning a degree in economics at Nova University, so you're familiar with our reality, and a post-graduation in tourism management in Estoril School. Over 20 years of career in multinationals in the field of marketing, and more particularly in the industry of fast-moving consumer goods, and held several leadership positions, lived in 7 countries, and since May 2019 is holding this position as director of NEST. Miguel, at his turn, is Associate Dean at Nova, at the Information Management School, IMS, where he's also a professor. He created and leads the Nova Cidade Urban Analytics Lab and directs the Master in Information Management and Post-Graduation programs in Smart Cities and Business Analytics, specifically for hospitality and tourism. So we'll be glad to talk about that. He was Secretary of State of Spatial Planning and Nature Conservation in the 19th and 20th Portuguese government and Smart Cities Personality of the Year, Green Business Week 2017, Fundação AIP. He's also an advisory board member of the Portuguese Professional Engineers Association, founder of the Data Science Portuguese Association, and member of the Sustainable Growth Platform think tank. So, welcome again, gentlemen. Now, for the audience to get a little bit familiar with both of you, first question to you, Roberto. So, you did an extensive career in fast-moving goods. How did you end up in tourism? Was that driven by passion? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Precisely. It was a matter of hazard, but it was by passion.
Okay.
You know, really from the start, I kind of had the feeling that in Portugal there was a huge potential as a warmth country and with so much culture and opportunities for leisure in a space which is quite healthy and also clean. Having traveled quite a lot, I had that kind of idea of how differentiating Portugal could be when it comes to tourism. Back then, it was in the beginning of the 2000s, There wasn't so much tourism, but I kind of had the feeling that there was the potential for the future, and it kind of hold on me to the point that I thought that, I should kind of investigate and study a bit further on. And that's the reason why from study economics, and at the time I was actually on a multinational. But as a part-time, I decided to study tourism. I didn't really knew back at the time, with some certainty of what I was to do with those studies and those informations. But it became quite clear when I was a bit older on, like 20 years later, that was, an opportunity for personal fulfillment, right. And a huge opportunity to participate on a growth of the Portuguese economy. So there it is. This is how I ended up in tourism.
Excellent. So basically, you looked at things from a customer perspective,
Absolutely.
And now you're on the other side.
Personal interests, and then I found my sweet spot.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Miguel, what about you? Not so much tourism, but how did you get into the digital world?
In the end of the day, everything makes sense to bring everything together. The journey began in the Nova Information Management School when we created a master in business intelligence. How can we take advantage of the growing data available to change the way we plan, we manage our organizations? As you referred in the beginning, I was Secretary of State, and I was in charge of cities policy. And during the process, I thought, this is a very interesting space to bring together business intelligence and cities. And I started to work in the field of smart, sustainable cities in a very data-driven approach. And in that process, and following the creation of the Nova Cidade Urban Analytics Lab, I also saw an opportunity in the area of smart, sustainable tourism. At first, in a spatial perspective. How can we change the framework of territory planning and management in order to improve tourism by the local authorities? So, and only after that, the idea of also looking at the different stakeholders in the tourist sector, they come into play. And nowadays, we work in the area of tourism, and we offer, as you referred, a specific program in business analytics for hospitality and tourism, where we try to bring together digital transformation, data science, and artificial intelligence to create value for the sector.
Thank you, Miguel. Well, for those who think that people cannot be passionate about data, they're definitely wrong, because you're the example of the opposite. So, Roberto, having said that, and thank you, Miguel, for sharing this with us, could you tell us a little bit about what the priorities are for Nest as an organization, and how that impacts what needs to be done in terms of digital transformation in Portugal?
The main point here is on helping on this transition, right? So the digitalization and also sustainability, they become operational models, meaning that they are frameworks in order for us to develop whatever. So the growth of the society, of the knowledge, of the companies, it does depend on innovation, and it depends on these frameworks. So in order to make the future to happen, we need to understand of how these things do really connect, and it's through the basis of digitalization and also the sustainability that the build-ups and the construction and the models do connect and then transform into a much fast-growing pace economies. In a wide sense, that it's not all about money, it's also about the quality of living, it's about the future that we want to protolate for our kids and family, etc. So that are the basis of something that needs education, needs trials, needs support, and that is where we as Nest participate. On providing, let's say, the ecosystem with bridges in order that there is discussion to happen, support to happen, and especially to kind of prepare what the future will bring. And experimentation in the short term or in the present can translate into a fast growth of knowledge, into trial and error, which is fundamental in order to generate understanding of how to play in these areas. The more we can facilitate that, the more we can provide the space, the room for experimentation, the more knowledgeable we will all be as a society. And then to apply this in tourism means that we need to provide this space. And the space is basically, space for discussion, prototyping ideas, generating new ideas based on the needs of tourists, on the needs of the companies. And the more we can do this, and especially if we can, let's say, professionalize those spaces, they will become points of access at any time. This means that we will not think of innovation once in a time or once we bump into a problem. We will think in continuous, right, as a ways of providing ways to do things better than what I'm doing today. And this is how things become intrinsic. Part of the thinking is when you have those tools, those support systems that make part of your everyday thinking. So that's the transformation we want to hold on. Not on from time to time to bump into a huge activity and make people stop for a while to think. No, this is something that has to be done in continuous, whilst the businesses are still ongoing, while the tourists are out there. We, at the same time, need to think of how can we do better tomorrow. Right. So that is our objective.
So it's really touching upon the entire ecosystem, ongoing, and not isolated actions that,
And the whole value chain, which right, is, let's say, one of the differentiating things of tourism. Whilst on the most parts of the economy, they can become quite vertical. In tourism, it's a product that it's consumed as a compound of many things. So unless they are all working out together in harmony, then the end result, it might not be a good one if you have the discrepancies on some are more digitalized and more sustainable and others are not. And this is why for tourism is a challenge. It's a long value chain, but it needs to be tapped from A to Z, from the journey from the start to the end. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to elevate the value of a destination.
And I'd like to get back to that point because the next question for Miguel is actually about the challenges. Tell us a little bit about the challenges you have encountered when working on tourism-related projects of digital transformation. Also because Roberto just mentioned it's an incredibly fragmented industry, which by itself, I would imagine, can be an obstacle at times. So what's your take on this? What have you encountered as somehow the main challenge to get, the ecosystem through that digital transformation?
Okay, I think I will pick up in two things that Roberto already mentioned. First of all, is in fact we have this challenge that is completely aligned with the global and especially the European agenda, which is the double digital and green transition. But at the same time, I think that is fundamental to follow this idea of the ecosystem, because in fact we have a very fragmented sector, and only by creating this ecosystem and only by scaling up somehow the solutions, we will be able to achieve this transformation of the sector, because it will be very, very difficult for each one of the different actors alone to do that, to become very efficient operationally, to be able to coordinate the operations, to develop capabilities in terms of an intimate relationship with the customers in order to exactly satisfy their needs. All of this taking advantage, of course, of the digital transformation and of the data that is available. But furthermore, the tourism experience, the tourist journey, it's not only about the different actors that provide the service. It's also about the territory. And so when we are thinking that we want to provide a very good experience to the tourists, we must not only guarantee that the service that are provided, but also the territory is able to create the desire of the visit, and furthermore to guarantee that the visit is not only an opportunity to take pictures and to publish them online. So we have somehow to engage with the tourism, to the tourist, and make sure that we are able to keep to create revenues for the different actors. Why am I saying this? Because in order to do this, there is a huge challenge, which is, are we able to have the necessary data to create this reality? Meaning what? Are we able, as an ecosystem, to make a proposal to someone that visits a certain territory and is able, still in the dreaming phase, to think about what he's going to do, where and when. And to know that, we are not speaking about, he wants to know what is the offer of a specific hotel. No, he's going to go to the interior of Portugal, and when he's there, we know that he is there, the territory knows that he is there, and is able to make him offers that are context and time-based. And this is a dream, okay? But the idea is, okay, I'm in the middle of a road in Alentejo, and suddenly I have somehow a notification that if I leave the main road and I go to the I don't know, 500 meters into the interior of a secondary road, I will find out a vineyard where someone is pruning the vineyard, or another place someone is baking bread. And in order to achieve this level of experience, we need a complete digitalization of all the ecosystem. So this, of course, we have a first layer, which is to have the digital transformation of the different businesses, but then we have this idea of ecosystem that Roberto was referring, that is mandatory to be able to do this. But I don't know if I'm going
No,
to...
no,
too
sure.
far.
And again, tapping into what you said about, digitalization and involving all these players. Roberto, can you give us a few examples of initiatives that were put in place where basically it was about, putting different players together and touching upon different aspects? Because actually we had a recording of our other podcast earlier on sustainability, and one of the comments was, don't want to take away from the other podcast now, but was basically tourism has to reinvent itself in terms of the model, and when you hear things about the interior and you hear Miguel talking about digitalization, it's clear that all these different aspects are connected. We're talking about health, we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about digital transformation. How do you address that? Because it's massive, it's huge, it's not an easy task.
Well, you definitely need to pick up the choices. There are some areas which you cannot really turn around from. The sustainability, the data aspect that Miguel has just mentioned. When you think about territory, the companies and tourists, what puts them together is actually the exchange of information. So you can become really addressing the offering with the demand with the right offering, and then enable as well the richness of the data to really be precise and customize what you are delivering. So that this is ultimately what we are aiming to do this in perfection. Until getting there with this perfection, as I mentioned, there's a lot to walk. There's a lot to walk. You really need first to disseminate these principles. So we need to have the collective to understand these basic principles. And when we're talking about such an industry that it's built up from thousands of little operations, which in parentheses here, I don't think this is a negative thing. On the opposite, it's a very good thing. On a world which is becoming more curious and wants to hear more narratives, a tourism industry done with thousands of narratives, it's much powerful than one which is done with only one thing to see, like dropping thousands of people in Venice. I think it's not going to be the model for the future, but exploring a wide place such as Portugal with thousands of things to do every day with small narratives, it's a wonderful journey. But we need to make people elevate their skills. So by disseminating the information, by trying to bring them all together into these principles is a fundamental thing. To turn around as well the idea of costs versus investing. What you can do in order to become a much more healthy business does require for looking into the opportunities of dematerializing the operations, becoming sophisticating in the offering with the customized opportunities, and serving the tourists as well with a seamless experience. So this is fundamental. So these are big ideas that we cannot really escape from. But then there is the richness of connecting them all, and that's the reason why we've been developing and through design thinking processes to think tanks on which we bring let's say a good amount of each and every one from the ecosystem, so we can have a broad vision of what are the needs and opportunities, and from that point onwards, even with the processes such as the one we've done, Mind the Tourism, together with Nova School, on which we bring the companies and the corporations telling us what are their needs and working on solutions. This is the point from where we start to do the connections, and from where we then see entrepreneurs really addressing to things that are on the ultimate need of what the industry needs. To give an example from these sessions, we could explore the potential of one of the entrepreneurs which is working on sentiment analysis, which is massive now. Now people talk to each other, but they tell more to the social media than they do to their mom. So there's a huge amount of information for us to pick up on the sentiment, on the ups and downs, on the goods and bads of the journey while in Portugal. And this is where, for example, Madeira was highly interested in order to understand what could be, and then the downturns for a lower, let's say, appreciation, and then to discover, that the application of some of the hygiene rules in some restaurants could be a potential problem that could be bringing down the overall appreciation of a destination. And so these are the things that at the end, connecting both the businesses, the entrepreneurs, making them talk about the solutions, can create actually things that can make a better tourism. So this is what we are, digging into, providing opportunities for connection, so we can, in a natural way, to bring more opportunities.
Can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
Because in the end of the day, we have today a huge challenge. And where I think that this kind of activities that Next does are really important is the fact that in order to take advantage of the digital transformation, we need that the decision makers, they understand what are the possibilities. Because one of the things that really happens is that people look at digital transformation as a way to make the processes more efficient through technology. But that's not what we want from digital transformation. What we want is that digital transformation just expands the frontiers of possibilities, and we can create new products and services, like the one with the sentiment analysis. And what is really amazing is that technology is in a fast process of being much more democratic, and the barriers to use this technology are becoming lower and lower. So it's very simple to use new technology, like sentiment analysis. But the question is, are the decision makers in the ecosystem capable of having the vision on how to take advantage of this digital transformation?
I'd like to, before I lose my thought on that, that's exactly anticipating the question that I had when it comes to, for people to embrace something, they need to be knowledgeable. And when you talk about these leaders, and because of the fact that it's such a fragmented industry, tourism, and I would like to give an example from my hospitality background. When we talk digital transformation, one of the first steps in hotel business was revenue management, using data for the purpose of being more efficient. Most people had their mouth full of revenue management, and most people didn't know about it, even though they spoke a lot about it. So this brings me back to the point that before people really became knowledgeable, they didn't apply it. It was, a few that were keeping the secret as to what to do in terms of revenue management. Where do we stand here when you talk exactly about what you pointed out? Because how knowledgeable, and do we have a role to play, for instance, as a tourism and hospitality platform through the difficult faculties? Can we play a role in making people more knowledgeable as to, becoming more savvy about digital transformation?
I believe that we have two challenges. One is to guarantee that we have the necessary technical skills at the operational level to take advantage of the available technology. But that is one challenge. For me, we have a bigger challenge, which is at the board level, to have some kind of as Roberto was saying, of brainstorming, of co-creation processes, where we can, in fact, make them aware of the possibilities of what we are doing, of what they can do, because in fact, this is not the cost. This is an investment,
right.
And if they do the maths, they will see that they will be better off in business terms, but also in the sustainability side. And so I think this is a process, but we have to work with these two layers. Being true that due to the nature of the sector is going to be really complicated to have technical skills in all these areas, in all the actors, because they don't have, the size doesn't allow them to have experts in every area. But also in this context, the democratization of the technology is making all of this available as a service. So the example of the sentiment analysis, the example, for instance, if I had an hotel and I wanted my digital information panel in the reception, it could have a camera on top the camera would analyze who is in front of the information panel, and automatically, if it is a couple, if it is a single man, if it is a family, they would receive a recommendation. And this is something that I don't need to buy any technology. I can do this with the technology available as a service. And so this is a huge the number of opportunities that we have, it's amazing. And this is, I think, where Nest is doing a great job and creating opportunities for the different players to test, to prototype, to see what can be done.
Excellent. And again, Roberto, to wrap it all up, because we're nearing the end of our podcast, again, tagging into the last bit of what Miguel was saying, when you talk about the opposite way around, companies, realities from the tourism world that are curious and are willing to embrace digital transformation, but don't really know about, how to go about it. What would you tell them? How can Nest help them? And then very quickly, I'm going to ask the same to Miguel as well, because a lot of people fear certain terminologies, and digital transformation for some people that are smaller realities is something they're not comfortable with. So what would you recommend them to do? And what could Nest do for them? And then obviously I would ask the same to Miguel.
I think as a human being, what I've learned so far is that the more honest you are, if you don't know, if you say, there are people willing to help you. If you try to fake it and pretend that you know, you will become, really, you will lose the opportunity to really develop. And we are all, and the beauty of all this is that it's not a specific thing for one specific part of the society. This is for everyone. And we know it is a challenge for many of us. And the good thing is that digitalization also becomes the democratization and the accessibility to information. We have now more access to information than we had before. It's not structured as in social classes. Any of us can have, if we have the means, can have access to the same information. So that is the principal thing. Not to fear not knowing about things, but actually to put it really up front, because there's people willing to help. The second thing is actually to think of this as an investment, as Miguel was saying. Because there's the beauty of digitalization is also its affordability, the speed that it can be applicable. I said before as an operational model because it's an analogy, but for me it's like the things that you put on your phone. They all work together. The same information works for another, and digitalization has this beauty. Once you also understand how it works a little bit, you are ready to go further on, and it doesn't stop. So you can evolve really quickly. So we should all miss the fear. Once we face it, we are already in the journey of the understanding, and then to explore the opportunities that there are behind this. At the end, digitalization serves human needs. There's no aspect that comes into our life that we adopted because it's called digital. No, it's because it saves us time, connects it with someone else, prevents me to spend money on things that I shouldn't, or it fits better my personality and my likes. So behind of whatever we do, or we have to face in name of digitalization, it's there for a human reason. And the business do really need to think of how to make use this at their own benefit, for a better livelihood, for their employees as well to be more satisfied and to provide a better opportunities of growth for the business, for the tourists as well to put more value and to be able even or willing to pay more for the products and the services that we are serving. So if we are clever on doing this, I think we will get there. Just another point is that many times people kind of split of what is digital and what is strategy. Even before that, I've studied in economic school. So I was educated from the start on demand and offer. The world is changing, so if the businesses do really sleep on and they can be easily taken over by others and they will not see where it's coming from. So we have seen big companies being turned around by small companies that in 3 years become huge. So if you are not awake for this, it's better that you are, because suddenly you will not have a business to run.
Right.
Okay? And then it's also thinking of a growth strategy. It's not a digital strategy, it's a growth strategy. So if you want to make a business, if you want to be employed, to have professional fulfillment, if you want to make money out of it, one of the things that you have at your service is all of the digitalization world. And then it's a matter of being really clever on how to apply in order to make your machine run better, serve better your customers. So I think it's losing the fear of, just to go back to the start, losing the fear to say, I don't know what it is, I don't understand, because I can tell you, it will happen to us every time, because this goes at such a fast pace that there's always new things on technology, new possibilities, and the beauty is that we are all learning. So we are all at the same, let's say, on the same boat, as we say in Portugal.
Right. Thank you, Roberto. And we have specialists that know how to deploy.
Yeah, I believe so. So at Nova, not only at Nova Information Management School, I strongly believe that we have a teaching, a learning environment where we really privilege hands-on experience, projects, labs. And so in the end of the day, we are really contributing to change the reality, and we have specific offers just for the tourism and hospitality sector. But I would like also to say that this is a very special sector, because in opposition to other industries, we can take full advantage of digital transformation, but we will not be able to replace humans by machines. So we need people, because this is all about service and the human contact and these experiences. So this is a wonderful sector to be and to work and to have projects in this area. And at Nova Information Management School, we have the passion, we have the knowledge on information management and data science to be part of this digital transformation. Because we used to say in classes that you will have to face digital transformation for one of two reasons: or to create competitive advantage, or to survive, because there is no other way.
Right. Well, on that note, and I think we can sort of resume it by saying digital transformation is an enabler. It's not a replacement. And if we look at it as an enabler, we can all embrace it in a much more fast way, so to say. So thank you very much again, Roberto. Thank you very much
again.
Thank you, Mario. I hope we can invite you to some future podcasts, because it was incredibly interesting, and pretty sure the audience has taken a lot away from this conversation. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
TOHO. Connected knowledge.